What's up, Lakers supporters? It's episode 14 of Laker Chisme. I'm your host, Jacob, and it's been a while since I posted something back in early June. It's now mid-July, approaching the end of the month, and that means the Lakers are already in Orlando. They're without Avery Bradley, who didn't travel with the team because he was concerned with the health of his son, which is obviously admirable. And Rajon Rondo did go with the team, but he hurt himself last week. He broke his thumb. He underwent surgery last Wednesday. So he's out 6 to 8 weeks. So that means that there are a few spots that opened up on the team. So the Lakers actually signed J.R. Smith last week, which former LeBron teammate in Cleveland. He's been with the Knicks, been with a few other teams, great shooter, long career in the NBA. Dion Waiters, essentially the same, former LeBron teammate in Miami. Did some good shooting. I'm not as familiar with Dion Waiters, although I have seen him, his shoot around prior to the Laker game against the Clippers on March 8th. Got a video of that on my channel if you wish to look at that, but he's a pretty good shooter, and apparently both are in good shape for the the coming scrimmages that are this week. And aside from that, the Lakers have also traveled with Devontae Cacok and Kostas Antetokounmpo. And if you're not familiar with them, they're both from the G League. They're out of the South Bay, the Lakers team in El Segundo at the UCLA practice facility. So those are two of my favorite players that aren't quote unquote on the team. They are on the team. They just work off two-way contracts, just like Alex Caruso did, so they can play in the G League or they can play with the team at Staples or, in this case, in Orlando. So I'm very excited to see them based on what I saw in preseason, especially Devontae Cacok. I feel like he's taken after Dwight Howard. If you watch him, he's not flashy, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but he is consistent, and you could tell he has a high basketball IQ, which means he knows all the fundamentals, and that comes from, that helps that he went to college, I think 4 years at UNC Wilmington. So these are both quality players the Lakers have been developing, and this might be a glimpse into what the Lakers do the next few years based on their salary cap, and the contracts that are coming, specifically Anthony Davis and potentially Kuzma or someone else, however they structure it moving forward. But that's later on. Right now, what's going on is that the Lakers have scrimmages coming up this week. So they have one on Wednesday, Thursday at 4 p.m. against Dallas, 4 p.m. Pacific. Saturday 9 a.m. against Orlando, and then Monday at 12 p.m. versus Washington. So all these games are Pacific time. If you could catch them on Spectrum Sports, definitely do that. If you don't have it, figure out a way to view it or stream it somehow and catch those games, because those are going to be telling, and those are going to be, give some insight into what the Lakers have been doing and working on, and what's going to happen July 30th, which is the first game back, their first real regular season game to continue what was going on in March. So that first game is against the Clippers, August 1st, play the Raptors, August 3rd against the Jazz, August 5th against the Thunder, the 6th against the Rockets, the 8th against the Pacers. That is a game. That's one of those games similar to Boston, Philly, Milwaukee, when they come back to Staples, and that when that was the time. Now this is technically a Lakers home game, or at least it should be, because this is the second game of the season series against Indiana. And this is a game they need to make up for. If you don't recall, back in December, Lakers lost against Pacers. Very close game, could have went either way, but Indiana pulled it out, and the Lakers need to basically win this game, just to reemphasize that they're the best team in the league. So that of course is not everyone's opinion. And just to cover it real quick, August 10th they played Nuggets, and then the final game, which is the 8th game, which would be against the Kings, that's August 13th. So, like I was saying, not everyone feels that the Lakers are the best team in the league, and I understand that based on the record. For example, CBS has them ranked at number 2. That's okay, but if you looked at the last few games of the season, they really picked it up, and they had a lot of momentum aside for the last game against against Brooklyn that they lost. But that's not necessarily a team they're going to be playing in the postseason or in the finals. So it's not as heavily weighted as a team like Milwaukee or the Clippers. The Clippers, pretty much gonna see them at some point in the postseason. So it's gonna be interesting to see where the Lakers go with this. That's about it for right now. They only have a few games lined up, and that's only because we don't know for certain what's going to happen these next few weeks. But I am looking forward to where the Lakers are headed, what they're going to do. And if you haven't forgotten, they clinched the Pacific Division. They were first in the Pac-Div. So they are already on top. So I'm going to be curious to see how their game or their strategy plays out in Orlando with no fans. Sounds like there's a little bit of media, but it's going to be interesting to see where they go with the lack of noise and support inside the arena. They know we're going to be watching, so I'm hopeful and I look forward to it. And we'll see what happens this week with the scrimmage games, and in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, we'll see where they're at against the Clippers. And that'll decide the season series, whether the Lakers lose it or they break even. The first 2 Clippers got, last one the Lakers got. I'm confident the Lakers are going to get this one too, because they've had a lot of time to kind of correct any mistakes or anything that didn't, on the technical side or coaching side, that didn't go well the first 2 games. They've had a lot of time to correct that, and hopefully they've had that concentration, not being in LA, getting away from everything and seeing where that goes. So thanks again for joining, and I look forward to the next episode. Thanks.